Today, let's walk through the steps of how you can make this patchwork heart-shaped pillow. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and today we are making this heart-shaped pillow. I'm even adding some lace trim around the edges, and the whole idea for this is I had a little stuffed animal that had this pillow on it, and I was like, what if I tried to make a bigger version? So that is what we're going to do today. Now for the front, I am going to make it patchwork, so I cut out a bunch of strips. These are 2.5 inches wide with varying lengths, so depending on how big you would want your pillow to be. And the first step that I did was just start laying all of these out to see what type of pattern, how did I want them to be organized. I went with a lot of pinks and reds, so definitely you could use whatever scraps you have on hand. In addition, you could skip this whole step, and I'll put the timestamp for where you just need to jump ahead into the video if you want to just do the pillow. After I had a pattern determined, I then went through and matched these with right sides together along that short edge, and then we're just going to be taking a seam along each of those short edges to make these be longer strips. Now for each of these seams, this is just a straight stitch, and then I did use like a daisy chain method. That way it was easier just to kind of keep going and I didn't have to stop and redo each of these little strips. But after I had all of them sewn together, I then just went through, got them all so that they're separated, and then I did use just a finger pressing method to open up that little seam on each of them so that then I could go through, lay them out, and make it so that I could connect the long edges together. So I just went back through, redetermined the order, and I'm going to match these into pairs along that long edge, and then we're just going to be sewing that up. So just going through, matching it, and then clipping it together. I found that quilting clips were really helpful for this, but again, you could definitely use pins if that's what you had on hand. Once I had all of them matched up, then it was just time to go back to my sewing machine. So a big part of this process is very repetitive, just sewing everything together. And then once I have that first step done, we'll just go back through and sew the rest of those edges together to make that one bigger strip. So as you can see, I then just laid everything back out and then determined, like which edges were going to be sewn together to make that one final piece of material that would be the front of my pillow. Now for mine, I did end up cutting this in half so that I'd have two pillows, as I made one for myself and then one for a family member. So after I did cut it, I then went through, ironed everything so it was nice and flat and smooth so that I could begin on the actual heart shape cutout design. So I folded this in half just so that I could determine where I'd want this to go, and then I just freehanded a heart. If you do not want to freehand though, you could go onto Google, just put in a heart template, and then make that as big or small as you want for your pillow. Once you have that heart shape cut out though, as you can see, I'm just doing half of a heart in this case, and then when I open it up, you'll have that symmetric heart. I went through, cut out the fabric, following that outline that I did, and here is the front of my pillow. So with the front ready to go, I then got the back of my fabric, which for me, I'm just going to be using a single piece of fabric. So I have this, I'm just going to lay this out, fold it very similar to before, and then just lay my half a heart on it so that I could get the back be the exact same size as the front of my pillow. Once you have that done, you can open it to see that you have your full back, and then the idea would be you would match these with right sides together, and then you could take a seam. I want to do one extra little step though, and I would like to add some lace to this. So a couple different ways you could do this. You could just try to put the lace in the center for the front and the back. I am though going to baste it first. So with the straight edge of this lace, I am matching that against the edge of the heart, and then having that lacy portion go in towards the fabric, as you can see. And then I'm just going to be clipping this into place all the way around my heart. Now I did start at the bottom edge down there for the point of the heart, and then up at the top I am very carefully just following the curve all the way around. When you get to that point where the direction of the fabric changes, so that little divot, I'm just very carefully folding the lace so that it is in place, that I am making sure there's lace on either side, and then we will be sewing this in. At the bottom, I've done the same thing. I did fold over the lace a couple times just so that there wouldn't be like a really raw looking edge, but now we can go through and baste this all the way around, and then we put the back on it. I am just using a basting stitch, that way if any part didn't work out, I could easily go through and adjust it. So a couple items to note on here at the bottom, you can see that these two pieces are not connected. If you want, you could hand sew them together at the end. I'm not going to worry about that though. So this is what it would look like. It comes together really nicely. So now what I'm going to do is put the back onto my pillow. So I'm just going to match these with right sides together, making sure that lace is inside the pillowcase. And then I'm just going to pin all of this up. Now I use 2 pins to denote a start and stop, and I'm going to be having a gap on one of those straight edges so that it's easier for us to turn this right side out as well as stuff it when we make it into a pillow. So starting at the bottom, going all the way around and stopping at that red and orange so that I'm able to leave a nice gap. Now for the sewing, I have returned back to my normal stitch length, and I'm just going to go all the way around, being careful on the curves to sew, and I'll include a video in case you want a little more information about sewing on a curve. And then for the curve at the top, I'm just going through and clipping little notches so that it will lay a little bit better and reduce some of that tension in the fabric. Now it's time to turn this right side out, and here is what my pillowcase looks like. It looks so fun and so cute. The lace turned out very well. So it's just time to stuff this up. So I just used regular polyfill. I did not stuff this too much. I left it actually kind of softer, so definitely up to you how much you would like to use. And then once I had it ready to go, it was just time to take a hand stitch directly over that opening. So for this, you can just use a needle and thread, and then I did almost like a ladder stitch so that you couldn't really see it too much. I would say if you use a very busy background, you won't see it that much at all though. So here is what my pillow looks like. I think it's perfect for Valentine's Day. It's a really fun little project, especially if you have a lot of scraps on hand. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next. Thanks for watching.